Welcome to the Intercut podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, leaping into Sam Jackson's arms, it's Arturo Zurita. It was a mistimed sip.
Yes. It was, no, I was rewatching the Oscars because I was editing a video for it, for the Let Me Explain, and that scene... Because I was behind yesterday. That was the thing that, so this is the podcast where I disclose little small things about the Oscars, since I'm only going to talk about the Oscars and Let Me Explain. I don't get to talk about my Oscar-watching experience. I'm in Denver. Yeah. So you got this because I said it in the group chat. I was like, guys, so it turns out ABC has restrictions in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, something that I'm not aware about as not a citizen of Denver, Colorado, but you couldn't watch the Oscars live?
I couldn't watch the Oscars live. I couldn't go into Xfinity. I couldn't even sign up for a YouTube, Hulu, or DirecTV account. Because even if I did and I paid it in full, ABC was not an option in the package.
Weird.
So this is the one night, the Super Bowl that we're waiting for, right? I'm just getting ready to relax over here. I ordered some biscuits. Everything was great. And all of a sudden... I'm stuck here looking for YouTube rips that were in reverse, and they had to have a beep, 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 beep to not get copywritten. Twitch ended up being the savior, believe it or not. After going through Facebook and everything, Twitch ended up being the one that had it there. And again, it had nothing to do with me wanting to see it illegally. I wanted to see it legally. I couldn't. Yeah. They didn't let me.
Yeah, exactly. It's sometimes you do your best, and the different restrictions and whatever don't allow you to see the thing you want to see.
A majority of it was just seeing your guys' reactions, and then hopefully I get them 5 minutes later. So that was one of them, was people going, yo, that may be one of the greatest hugs, greatest award presentations, was the way that Spike gave it, or the way that Spike jumped on
Sam Jackson,
which Spike is a lot shorter than I always think he actually is.
Yeah,
we're probably the same height.
Short. Yeah, he looks pretty short courtside at Knicks games, but he's still courtside, short when Knicks it's games. Not next to basketball.
Hey, where the Knicks play? Madison Square Garden, biggest arena, as he let everyone know. Yeah. I get courtside tickets, by the way. Oh, there's Oscar? That's cute. I have courtside tickets.
Ref made a bad call.
But no, it was an interesting way to watch the Oscars, which I know we're obviously going to get into. Did y'all know Multiplex covers the best pictures? And this year he finally decided to come out of retirement. Crazy.
Yeah. The Multiplex channel got 14 out of 24 categories right, which isn't the best score, but it's all right.
It's okay.
How'd you do?
I stopped. Well, I couldn't focus. It was either keep tabs on what I got winning or figure out what's winning. I had no choice, no in between.
All right, so in a little bit, we're going to talk about those 91st Annual Academy Awards, the losers, and the big moments. First, make sure you're subscribed to the Intercut podcast, either the video podcast on youtube.com/intercutpod or the audio podcast available on most podcatchers. Also, follow Intercut on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We are at IntercutPod. That's at IntercutPod. That's short for podcast. All right, let's get straight into the night's big award. We're going to switch things up and go topic of the week first.
It's what we've been watching, too.
Yeah, it's what everybody's kind of thinking about, so we got to get right into it. After picking up Oscars for Best Supporting Actor and Best Original Screenplay, Green Book was awarded Best Picture in 2019, shocking much of film Twitter and pissing off Spike Lee. Art, you and I both saw Roma way back in September,
yes, sir.
And I think we were both pretty quickly convinced it would be a favorite heading into Oscars night,
yes,
which
sir.
We thought, just 48 hours ago. So what do you think happened?
Bamboozling, my friend.
Sticking with the Spike Lee theme.
You've talked about it. I'm sure most of our viewers also know the second preferential ballot, the way that stuff works. Would you say that it's more so on the side of it still being, 60%, 97%? Or the most are over 60 years old?
Yeah, there's still a large percentage of the Academy that are the older demographic of voters who Green Book is apparently, a bigger appeal to. There are younger people who probably like Green Book a lot too. I think something that we forgot about at some point during this whole big push for Roma is that it's still a black and white foreign film.
So is the artist, though. Is it not the same? That's where I get confused, where we say it's like, oh, well, we got to remember who it is. Well, if we're remembering, why did they pick Moonlight? Why did they pick this? Why was this year different?
Right. And I think ultimately there might have been a big push for Roma, but I don't know if it benefited from that second round, that third round of voters, like you were saying. Because, the theory is that a lot of the times it's not the people who are voting it for first place, but the people who are voting it for second and third place that ultimately push you over the top in the preferential ballot. Considering that Alfonso did win for Best Director, that shows that there's a lot of love for Roma, but maybe more of a universal like for Green Book.
So that was one of the biggest things that everyone keeps saying, that a lot of people know, many people who like Green Book, they don't hate it. But that a lot of people have yet to find the one person who loves Green Book. And I would say I'm on the side when TIFF happened, that I was just like, I got tagged by a lot of people last night saying that I had called it. I wasn't really calling anything. I was just saying that that's the way that it goes, which I think is going to lead to a bigger conversation between us talking about Roma and how a loss may be more beneficial than a win, which we'll get to, right? And I think you and I both agree on this. But in terms of Green Book, I had said this. I don't believe it's worse than Crash. I think we're just more vocal nowadays to say that it's worse than Crash, as opposed to 2005 where we didn't have those avenues. You weren't going on MySpace hearing about the Best Picture winning Crash. But with Green Book, and I said this when it won the award at TIFF, was that it wasn't a bad movie. People were liking it all throughout TIFF until it won the award, and then it became something to dislike. And I said, the bigger that it gets into award contention, and if it ends up being an actual, ended up being the winner, that it's going to give more people a reason to hate it. Our good buddy Chase even had said, I'm sure a lot of people did put 3.5 stars for Green Book. But the amount that they're hating it now, they have to go back and they have to lower it to adjust the way that they see it. I said the same thing about Sicario. A lot of people were liking Sicario before donations to the wall, I guess, were happening. The first one to Sicario 2. And it's not to say that there isn't those merits that are in there. I think a lot was said yesterday. When no one mentioned
there actually is cultural context that does sort of change the way you look at a movie. I think sometimes that's inarguable, but some
have always been there. That's what I'm getting at too. As someone who wasn't necessarily defending the movie, but said this is how it's going to play out, and I don't think it's a bad movie. The one black producer having to join the lottery. Did you hear about this? In order to even be seated at the Oscars, all the way on the side.
No, I didn't hear that story.
Do you know who that one black producer is?
No.
What's her name? Who's going to be in Mama right now? Our girl from Loose.
Octavia?
Octavia Spencer is a producer. I knew this because she was doing the talks at TIFF. She is a producer for the movie. I don't know if she gets an award, but even as a producer and the one black spokesperson that they have up there, she had to enter the lottery to be able to make it in. And actors do have to do this. They have to enter a lottery if you're not a +1 or someone who's in the competition. You have to enter a lottery in order to be able to make it in there. But to think that the one black person for Green Book had to enter that? It's kind of crazy.
Right. So there's two things that you talked about that I want to kind of circle back to. The one being this idea of the very white presenting cast or crew behind Green Book. That was something that was commented on a lot after it won.
And it looked like Bruno Mars at the Grammys last year? Yeah.
Right, exactly. And that it is notable how many white people and voices are behind the story that's ostensibly about the Green Book, but not really about the Green Book.
And again, to put that, because we also know we have those audiences that are ready to jump, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Look at Into the Spider-Verse.
Very white. To me, it's a movie that's much more about Nick Vallelonga, I believe, Tony Lip, whatever his name is. It's much more about him than it is about the Dr. Shirley character.
Easily.
It's that it's kind of become... Yeah, and as a movie about Tony Lip, I think it's successful. As a movie about Dr. Shirley, I'm not so sure. And it's, depending on how you're looking at the marketing, you might see it two different ways.
I don't think there is a marketing, though. What's the name of the movie? I had this once with a teacher who asked she didn't like Dark Knight, and she said Dark Knight's, like, it's unstructured, like, who is it even about? To which the smart Alex in the room said, it's in the title, Dark Knight. Yeah. Green Book shouldn't be... And I'm a person who loves the performance because I just think he was a damn cartoon in it. It's called Green Book. What the hell does Tony Lip have to do with the Green Book? That
right.
is
That's
associated with
probably the
Shirley.
biggest- That's probably the biggest misstep of the movie is really calling it Green Book. If it's driving Dr. Shirley, it's maybe goes over. It's
As Spike
received
said,
a little bit better.
always loses to someone driving.
Yeah, so I think it's that, and it's also that they're not acknowledging that the only person to thank Dr. Shirley yesterday was Mahershala Ali. There's a lack of acknowledging the black people behind this story. There was that comment after the Oscars where the Green Book producer basically said he didn't know that Dr. Shirley's family even existed.
Okay, can we need? That's not one where you can just say it and go.
Yeah, that's like. You're
Let's
not
talk
doing
about
your
that.
research. You're not doing your.
How does an entire production company have the time to go to TIFF and do interviews and do an entire campaign enough that it wins you Best Picture, but you couldn't get in contact with the family of the famous person who you're covering? You're telling me they didn't even come out and say something? Wait, we do know they came out and say something, and that's one of the biggest things right here that I really want to focus on. I think people are going to regret thinking Green Book was a better option than Bohemian Rhapsody. And I think a lot of it has to do with the people who work in Bohemian Rhapsody, which we're going to get into, and the people who've been working on Green Book. Because when you combine the fact that no one in their acceptance speeches, except Mahershala, said thank you to Don Shirley, that comment comes out where, what, I didn't even know they... No, you do. And even when you found out, you should have done something. But above that, you heard about the producer's email to critics?
Yeah, that
Do you
one of
wanna
the
do it?
Green Book producers has been sending
Threats.
basically threats might be exaggeration, but like harassing emails.
Yes, he pretends to be a fan, but is also too egotistical because he's also the producer of Green Book. That he pretends to be a fan, but he's also a producer in the email, and he's trying to like bash any critic who has said anything bad, letting him know that it's not racist. Pretty much correcting a lot of black critics.
Yeah,
which is not a good look for the movie.
Not at all.
The article that you're criticizing being titled Green Book, a movie about racism where white people teach black people about racism. Again, this is coming from a person who liked the movie. The movie filmmakers do not help it at all.
Yeah, their statements haven't been really that strong in
Carrie
defending.
Fisher, live long Carrie Fisher.
Which also got a lot of people pissed. So the backlash to Green Book obviously didn't stop it from winning the Best Picture prize. The thing that I was surprised by is it was able to get this far despite not even being nominated for Best Director.
True.
But do you think this has anything at all to do with not awarding Netflix Best Picture?
That's a big conversation. Do you want to have that conversation? Are we done with Green Book? We got all our jabs from Green Book out. What did you think about screenplay?
I thought
Brie Larson gasping and Samuel L.
Yeah, the contrast between Sam's reaction to giving Green Book screenplay and giving Spike screenplay was pretty amazing.
They're total opposites, aren't they?
Yeah,
if one has a white person, go for it.
To me, original screenplay. As somebody who got into my love of film through writing, I'm consistently disappointed with the original screenplay winners. Sometimes they're really exciting. A lot of times they're really boring, cliched scripts, and I think Green Book is a movie that really succeeds off of the charisma of its performances, not its very cliched script.
Yes.
So it's pretty crazy to me that that's ultimately what won. Even if you take the whole backlash against it aside, it's just not a very innovative or interesting script to me. So I was upset that won there. You mentioned the crash thing, which I think is an interesting talking point. People basically comparing
everyone.
People comparing the last unfortunate commentary on racial drama to win Best Picture to this one.
To also it being a movie where the other ones around it could have been very progressive, because Brokeback.
Yes.
And what else was that year? Because I know Brokeback's one.
I don't remember, but Brokeback was the one that most people really thought should have won. While I think that a lot of people are misphrasing their criticism of Green Book by comparing it to Crash, I think there's something to be said about Crash at least being a somewhat forward-looking movie in terms of its construction, and Green Book being such a backward-looking movie in terms of going, it's this tried and true, this tired way of approaching the racial drama. It's set in it's set in a previous era that's already been covered. at least Crash took place in our modern day and attempted, even if it was unsuccessful. I think Green Book is a better movie, but
It is a better movie.
But it's so artistically uninteresting that I think that's where a lot of people have been frustrated by its win.
I think my thing with Green Book is that I don't think the movie itself takes itself too seriously, but the filmmakers take themselves too seriously.
That's
the biggest problem. As it really check those emails out that guy sent. Like those aren't fake; those are like real emails. That guy's insane. He's a little crazy.
Yeah. So something that you were alluding to earlier is the idea of Best Picture sometimes not being good for a film's legacy, and I think this is going to be a classic example of it, where if it had never been nominated for any Oscars, I think it might have even been remembered somewhat fondly, as you got a couple charismatic performances out of Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen. Easily. It's a nice commentary, but it's the praise that puts it to another level and makes people say that movie is overrated.
The Artist, everyone thinks it's overrated. The Hurt Locker, a lot of people think, general audiences think it's overrated, unless something that they all know and love has won big. This to be completely honest, and we always talk about this, we are in our vacuum. Yeah. Get this, breaking the vacuum. Nobody else cares Green Book won last night. I had messages from my mom and from my brother because they kind of get the gist of like, oh, what's in talks to win. But when they won, they're like, yeah, that was a good movie. General audiences do not see a problem with it because they're not looking too much into it. They're not seeing into the backside. What they saw was a movie that didn't take itself too seriously and didn't say it was going to end all of racism, but it covers it in a point where we who are looking really into it and what the filmmakers are trying to say get bigger into it. But everybody else, it's a fun movie with charismatic performances that has Mahershala Ali. Y'all like Mahershala Ali. Didn't he win for that Moonlight movie? I didn't like that movie. He's finally in a movie I do like.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we take a different view of it than other people.
Yes.
And I think it's interesting. I'm curious how much of the Academy is viewing it differently than us, too.
Are the Academy members not film connoisseurs?
I mean, they're supposedly industry people. But if you've talked to enough industry people, you know not all of them are like avidly watching movies. Yeah. You like to talk about about people leaving Sundance screenings. You know, not everybody who works in the industry is necessarily an avid film watcher.
They're not. They're just doing it as a part of a checklist. Yeah, that's the craziest part about it. That's why every year everyone's surprised that the Indie Spirit Awards are the best awards. Wow, this satisfied our palate as it does every year. Are we just going to ignore it and then pay more attention to the Oscars? Yeah, it happens every single year. That's the funniest part about it. That the Indie Awards, the Spirit Awards, are the little Susie that everyone uses their shoulder for until they move. Yeah. The Netflix thing. Yes, I do believe when a movie wins it. I think that was the best thing that happened to Moonlight, was the double swap thing. La La Land would have won, people would have hated it. There's a man, the La La Land, because everyone just thought it was in the bag, it softened.
Yeah.
The La La Land haters aren't really there anymore, and there's no really haters for Moonlight because of the way it received its award.
Yeah, it was the underdog up until the last moment.
Everyone likes to remind you how no one's thinking about Shape of Water. Everyone's thinking about Get Out. Everyone will remind you about the movies that did make an impact, but people are big to say that Shape of Water, to many, isn't that big of a thing, and that really the Fish movie. A lot of people have even said that this is the comeback to the Fish movie. Have you heard that?
Yeah, like the backlash.
Yeah, y'all had Obama, now you get this. But the Roma thing is interesting because I truly believe it's one of those things. I personally know it as the Shawshank effect. Some may know it as the Pulp Fiction effect. Some may know it as, I can't think of other movies that may have gone blank on it. Roma didn't go blank, but it's that thing where we still talk about Shawshank to this day.
Yeah.
We still talk about a lot of other ones, that Pulp Fiction to this day. That Roma not winning Best Picture doesn't give it the artist effect that many may have, where then people start hating it and they go, really? Really? Instead, it lives off and it's got like this crazy legacy to it. One where... Have you checked Fandango, Regal, or AMC? This is big. Did you know that AMC... You know how they always have their Best Picture showcase?
Yeah. They aren't playing Roma as part of that Best Picture showcase.
What? It's nominated for Best Picture. You only have 8.
Yeah.
And you said no. How petty is that?
Right.
How do you not play the one movie that's nominated for Best Picture, one foreign cinematography, the way movies are shot,
and Best Director,
and Best Director? That's the guy who helms the movie theaters, and they didn't want to play it. Did you hear one of them had the audacity to say that it was a made-for-TV movie? That's why Roma can't get played.
I didn't see that.
Man was playing some of the crappiest movies on TV. Yeah, do not get started with me with all the teen stuff that comes out. You're going to say Roma Cinematography Award-winning Roma. It had its own museum at TIFF. Made-for-TV movie. It was never going to get played. And on top of that, he said because it was streaming on Netflix, it was pointless for it to be playing in theaters. Black Panther's on Netflix.
Yeah, no, it's crazy sometimes the way that these theaters are rationalizing this.
We thought Cons was bad.
There still is an old mentality when it comes to the way that some of the industry approaches Netflix. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much of that was affecting their awards chances as much as it was that this is not necessarily a movie for everybody, and especially if you're not seeing it in a movie theater, it's going to lose some of its charm. I don't know. I'm wondering if we overrated Roma's chances from the start. Maybe we didn't. He won Best Director, but...
We did it. No. That man was about to collect a crap ton of awards, which we had a discussion about last night.
Still had 3.
Who's the person to win the most awards in one? Innaritu, I think, had 3 in one.
Yeah. Disney ended up having 4.
Disney, I think, has a record with the 4 back in the day. But damn, my man was going on the street, and he could have had it. He's producer for Best Picture, and screenwriting was his. He could have had it.
He won for director, foreign, and cinematography. He didn't win for screenwriting and didn't win for picture.
For picture. But he had the opportunity to be there. It shows us that I don't think we overrated it. Just something crazy happened in terms of... Okay, let's talk about Bohemian Rhapsody. Can we talk about that?
All right, so before we get straight to that, let me say that the big acting awards of the night went to Rami Malek for his portrayal of Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody.
I loved his speech.
And then, the speech was solid. Yeah, I think he got a lot of criticism. I think he got a lot of criticism for it, and I don't know how much of that was fair.
None of it was his
that
fault.
Being said, a lot of it is reliant on that whole don't talk about the director who's not in the room thing.
All right, so do we want to
on.
get about that one before we jump to what the next?
I got that later.
Okay.
So then there was the Olivia Colman shocking audiences at the Dolby Theater by winning Best Actress for The Favorite.
One of you guys spoiled it.
Oh, for you?
I was 5 minutes behind. When you guys said, what the hell, I realized it was neither of the two who we thought was in competition.
Yeah. So, I mean, up until that point, it was kind of crazy because The Favorite, despite being nominated for 10 Oscars, had not won any of them.
You specifically had put it to rest. Yeah, you put it to rest. Yeah. You said, well, that sucks. It went over. What?
So, Art, I know you ended up picking Christian Bale and Glenn Close before the show. Which of the Best Leading Actor winners were you more surprised to see?
And there was only one surprise of the night. It was that. There was excitement on the nights. There was finalies. There was not and it always happens with supporting.
Stunner.
Stallone got his. And now over here for the two of them, which the only one who hurts here, and it was in the speech as well, is Glenn Close. Because I think that's it. That's it for Glenn Close. Gaga got... None of us put together that Gaga didn't need the acting one? She really just needed the shallow one?
Yeah, but I think a lot of us wanted her to win the acting one.
We wanted her. But how empty do you feel right now? No, she got her Gaga one. Plus, she also made sexual intercourse love with Bradley Cooper up on stage, which was kind of crazy.
Look. It's a steamy look.
So, in terms of Rami winning, I liked what he did. Rami was very similar to Mahershala with me. Both people who I think they're stand-up dudes winning for performances that I don't think were the best in their category.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we'll look back on Rami's career, maybe even look back on Rami's career 5 years from now and be a little bit stunned that he won for this movie. Yeah. But that's the kind of thing that happens. You look at Julianne Moore, who's one of my favorite actresses, and still Alice is just like a random blip on the radar for her, but that is her Best Actress winner. So... that's just kind of how the Oscars sometimes roll out. I do wonder how much people were voting for Rami Malek and how much they were just voting for liking Freddie Mercury, because I feel like that happens sometimes.
Well, we'll talk about that.
You end up playing a character who's a true character. But definitely the Olivia Colman thing was a much bigger surprise. Olivia Colman,
her speech, fantastic.
She had a great speech. I thought she was the most endearing speech of
even
the night.
Afterwards.
Yeah,
I mean, she's afterwards.
she's a very charming person. She's kind of been a character actress for many years and kind of going on under the radar. There are a lot of clips of her from Hot Fuzz going around
Yes.
Twitter after she
It's
won.
good.
It's really great to see someone who's really blossomed, especially a little later in her career,
Yeah.
and who's so great on screen.
Oh.
It does suck for Glenn Close because, nothing against Glenn Close. It was just weird that she ended up seeming like the front runner there.
Out of nowhere, but no one even that was never supposed to
Well,
be your spot. It's
Yeah,
supposed to be
apparently
Toni
not
Collette.
even apparently not even the Academy members have seen the wife. It's just you and me.
Just you and I, and that's because you were on a plane. Can we talk really quick about that switcheroo though? I love Regina King winning. I think she deserved winning. She looked incredible as well.
Yeah.
As well as Captain America, who one of my favorite jokes of the night was Chris Evans, best supporter of actresses.
Yes.
That she beat out the leads of the movie. That the supporting actress won the lead award for. Can we just talk about that? I remember making a gif of Olivia Colman just taking it between the other two actresses, not realizing that was her, and the other two actresses weren't her co-stars. It was the other two nominated, Glenn Close and Gaga. So,
Yeah, I mean, it was really funny just seeing how into Olivia's win Emma Stone was. I thought that was really sweet. You could see her saying, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god."
Jordan Peele when Spike won.
Oh yeah. I mean, so there were two moments. I'm skipping a little bit ahead in my timeline here, but thinking about the best moments for me, I think there's two things that rose above everything else. Olivia Colman and just the amount of love that everybody had for her.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband and Emma Stone, and then Yorgos all coming over to kiss her. I thought was just a really wonderful moment. And then Spike winning, and just how happy so many people were that he finally has
Jordan
one.
Peele was crying in the back, and this is an important thing to realize because without, and a lot of people say this for certain directors, but without a Spike, you probably don't have a Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
And now without a Jordan Peele who executively produced Black Klansman, Spike may not have the Oscar. It's crazy, man.
Yeah,
he was sobbing in the back. But those are your top two?
For me, those were some of the best moments of the night. Do you have any other things that stood out for you?
The free solo stuff I was very excited for because I really enjoyed the movie. Didn't like them not thinking, I don't know, the guy who was fucking free soloing. But one of the other ones that I thought was pretty dope was... and I'm blanking it because it was an announcement. It was one of the announcers. We didn't even mention that, the Hostless Oscars.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay. Then I'll remember the one that I had because it was someone announcing something that I thought was pretty dope.
All right, so let's backtrack a little bit then. In conjunction with its win for Best Actor, Bohemian Rhapsody ended up picking up awards for Best Sound Mixing, Best Sound Editing, and a baffling win for Best Film Editing,
that one
giving it the lead with 4 Oscars. None of those winners even mentioned director Bryan Singer or his replacement during their speeches. Additionally, Hollywood's other problematic fave, as we mentioned, Green Book won 3 awards of its own. It wasn't all regressive award winners, as Black Panther picked up 3 awards, including the first 2 non-acting Oscars given to black women in 30 years. Spike Lee, as we mentioned, won his first Oscar nearly 30 years after Do the Right Thing was snubbed, and Roma, a foreign language film, black and white, won 3 awards with Best Cinematography,
First
Best
for
Director,
Mexico.
and the first foreign language film win for Mexico. So, Art, was this a positive year or a negative one in terms of progressiveness in Hollywood?
We had this conversation late last night, Zachary.
Yes, we did.
I was talking about it being like the Grammys, where you get, all of these people winning. But it's like the rap winning for rap. Of course, it's like, wow, this is a great night for women. They won all the actress categories. No duh.
Right.
The ending, I talked to you about that, where you had all these women and black people who were winning awards, and you got Green Book, which feels like a slap in the face, and it feels like the complete opposite. As Spike would tell you, the literal complete antithesis of his movie, where it's a black man telling a Jewish man, bro, you got skin in the game, don't you realize it? And then over here, a black man being told about something. I don't know. You said it doesn't affect it. I still am of that Grammy belief where the Oscars kind of use everything, but they refuse to give it to 2 things. Can't even really say that because Moonlight won. But it seemed like Netflix was the thing against it this year, and it was just more so that whole idea of the Academy screwing around in the back and it being for people who they like the most.
Yeah, I think ultimately I view it as mostly a successful, like progressive, forward-thinking night, because we know that there's a lot of progressive attitudes in the Academy,
Yeah.
and we know there's a lot of people who don't see don't see Green Book as a problematic film
At all.
which that's fine if that's your opinion. But there's the stuff with Bohemian Rhapsody that people don't necessarily disqualify that. We know those people existed, but we don't know there's as many people who are willing to vote a superhero movie as an
Yeah.
Oscar win, or
A Disney movie.
vote for some like unconventional choices, and now we have a lot of evidence of that. We've had so many years of talks about diversity, and now the 4 acting award winners. We had 2 black actors and an Egyptian actor.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's inarguably some progress being made, even if you can't see it in every single category.
So you 100% would say that hashtag, which Spike gave credit to, I want to say in his afterwards speech, I want to say it was Spike. It was Spike, right? He specifically remembered who was the person who started the Twitter hashtag of Oscars So
April
White,
Rain, yeah.
and he gave it a bunch of credit. Is she a writer, journalist, or something?
I think she's a writer.
Okay.
She's definitely popular on Twitter.
She's not like a random person who just started the hashtag, right?
No, she's not
big,
like a
okay.
nobody.
So you would see, do you think without that it wouldn't have catapulted? Like when we talk about marches and things that happened and some people argue they wouldn't go anywhere, this is one where you would say, no, if it wasn't for that, there wouldn't have been the spiral that would have resulted in this year.
I think it's ultimately, the thing that helped push some of the momentum in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Spike also gave credit to Cheryl Boone Isaacs,
Mm-hmm.
who was president of the Academy for a couple of years and instituted a lot of change. And I think ultimately that these things change gradually, not radically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about the steps, and hashtag Oscars So White was one of those steps. I think that step would have come somewhere, but it just so happened to come along at the right time to push things in that direction.
Now, in terms of Bohemian Rhapsody, because that was the other thing we were mentioning here,
Yeah.
would you have been more upset with that winning over Green Book?
I think so, because the thing is, Bohemian Rhapsody's awards were not given to Bryan Singer, whereas it winning Best Picture is kind of inherently more of a
Is he
award
producer?
towards Bryan.
You think so?
I mean, I don't think he's credited as a producer, but it's a little bit more of a reward for the film. Like, I think you can reward aspects of it without necessarily endorsing the full thing. Giving it Best Picture is an endorsement of the full thing. I think there was some article that came out that Bohemian stands to that if Bryan Singer had a clause in his contract where he would get awarded an extra like $10 million or something for a Best Picture win.
So by encouraging it, you're encouraging him. I can see
Yeah.
that. I can see that 100%. Are you of the side that you don't watch Usual Suspects anymore?
No, I'm not.
So do you think that this movie can be separated from Bryan Singer if it truly becomes this crazy thing that seems to not have a director?
Yeah,
that
I mean, the
truly
thing
is
is, like,
just a piece of Queen.
I think there's a difference between like the movie existing and people wanting to enjoy it for the elements that are not objectionable, and the movie being given the biggest prize in Hollywood. Like, I just don't think. I don't think that's something that Bohemian Rhapsody needed. It had not only. I mean, honestly, my bigger objection is artistically. I just thought it wasn't a good enough movie.
And it won the most artistic awards.
Yeah, which is
Technical
crazy to me.
awards wise, I guess.
Yeah. Like I'm my bigger objection is that the movie is awful.
So the editing thing. Do you think it when editing? I heard about this because of the way that it gets pitched. You got to remember, people aren't sitting there with a script. People are not sitting there
Right.
with the entirety of the movie, or they're
So
actually
there's-
sitting there with the actors. And
There's a theory out there that it won film editing because since Bryan Singer was fired, the editor didn't have the input of the original director when choosing from all of the original shots, and there's competing voices. So
to
I
make
think
it as
the argument-
cohesive as possible.
yeah, the argument is not so much he did the best editing as he had the most difficult job of editing, which
reminds me of a
Sure.
wing conversation you and I had of trying great food or not trying great food.
right. Like, I just don't think that's what the Oscars are supposed to be about. I understand the rationale But I think that's kind of like saying, which was another word that I wasn't so on board with, like Leo deserved the Best Actor for The Revenant specifically because he put himself through so much. Yeah,
we're not with that. But have you heard about the campaign aspect of it?
No.
That you got to remember that it's not just here. Did you notice the editing? They literally edit a montage for you. So that one of the campaigns that they had going for them, and this was one of the reasons why a lot of people said First Man as well, one for visual effects. Well, I personally think, and I like First Man, I think the best thing about First Man is the score that didn't even get nominated, whatever. But winning visual effects, First Man, was because a lot of people, especially the Academy voters and who they are able to relate how painstakingly they were able to get as close to the original stuff as possible, even though, mind you, they're just standing in front of screens. That's whatever, the behind the scenes is out there. Still very cool, and I love the third act of that movie. But it was because they were able to get to that nostalgia factor and be like, isn't this just like it? Oh my gosh, First Man. Now let's get to editing. Forget the rest of the movie. Did you see how painstakingly we got the live aids? And that's what a lot of people have been saying, and a lot of insiders have said that was the thing that they were pitched, was look how close we got the live aids to, and people were like, oh my gosh.
Right, I saw live aids. They showed their work.
Yes.
And sometimes showing your work is the easiest way to guarantee yourself an Oscar, whether that's in front of the camera or behind it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason that Bohemian ultimately won that award. How it won for sound mixing and sound editing, I don't really understand. But
you can see the people who do the rap lip syncing things. That
they
were like, "Ooh, we are finally being merited."
So I don't know. I just don't think it was the technical achievement that an Oscar win would
100%.
delegate it. And beyond that, it's now the movie that won more Oscars than any other movie this year.
Oh, really? It had the most?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Green Book had 3, Roma had 3, and Black Panther had 3. But Bohemians 4 won the night.
So talking about how that they're being accepted, did you think they were going to say anything? So that was part of the thing that confuses me. Out of the two, this is what I'm getting at. Green Book regressively takes steps to make it worse in front of audiences when people say something. They fight back at people. Their literal acceptance speech was, guys, we're not racist. Shout out Carrie Fisher. Bohemian, on the other hand, are they not, like, and this is someone who made the video. They're doing everything in their power to make it better. They fired the director.
It's a little damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right, and I felt that when it was like, oh, you're not going to mention the director? It's like, why would you want them to mention the director? They're doing the best that they should be doing. They are thanking the people who this movie is shining a light upon and what they wanted it to be. I feel like Bohemian Rhapsody knew what it wanted to be, as misguided as it is, than the other misguided movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's people who are hoping for some kind of indictment of Bryan Singer that don't realize that most of these people probably have some form of contractual obligation to not say something anything. Like that.
There was people in the back. Someone was asked something about the Boa girls. Shout out to them, and shout out to the Period girls who won as well, because they gave delightful speeches. The Boa girls, for short, animated. They were asked about... Bow. What was I saying? Boa? Boa. Bow. I'm hungry. I'm still thinking Disney. I want to go eat it. When they won, they were asked in the back about who I was asking about. My R. Kelly. Mr.
John Lasseter.
John Lasseter. Because it's like, I still don't know fully everything that happened. It's one of those things where it's like, damn, am I having a bias on him just because he made Toy Story? Right? I was having the Kendrick thing when it hits the fan. The MJ thing, I was like, yeah. They're yelling Billie Jean, I'm yelling Toy Story. But it's an interesting thing, and we were having a conversation about it. But when they were asked, they couldn't say anything. NDA agreements.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the same thing over here with these guys. They can't say anything. They can't even speak their mind.
Let's shift away from the awards, unless there's any others that you want to mention. I think
Brian Tyree MC should host.
Yeah, I'd be down for a Melissa McCarthy, Brian Tyree Henry double bill. But let's shift away and talk about the telecast. The whole show came in 20 minutes longer than expected, which is not that long compared to other years. The hostless Oscars didn't feel very hostless.
Nope.
What do you think? Did the Oscars find a recipe for success by eliminating its host?
100%. It flowed smoothly. Someone made a joke. He's like, how about we just randomly stop and go to a Chuck E. Cheese? And I was like, oh my goodness, we don't have to do that anymore. There was jokes being said. That was what it was. damn Medea himself. I'm proud to present this award not during the commercials, but televised the way it should be. Thank you, Oscars.
Yeah.
I was like, man.
Yeah.
Wow, you
Tyler
got something
Perry.
in you,
Got
Tyler
one
Perry.
in.
The president's not cutting his position out. That was great. He surely kept himself on there. But one of my favorite parts about the Hostless Oscars was having the real host come out right at the beginning. The people have been asking for the longest time. They say, if we were hosting it, we would this, but we don't. And they literally killed hosting duties. They did it.
Right. Yeah, the Maya Rudolph, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler,
people
Meta,
have been asking for.
We're not really hosting, even though we're doing the opening monologue.
And everybody asked for you guys to do it, and we've been wanting.
Yeah,
to
it's
do
great.
It,
It's great. I think that the show suffered a little in the second half by not having enough,
things to tie it in.
Bits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it kind of at the end it became song award presentation.
So that's a great thing to talk about. Songs are trash. RGB.
Yeah, the original songs this year were really bad.
Really bad, except for Shallow. And it was almost one of those things where Shallow was so incredibly great, you almost forgot you had to listen to 4
Shallow, I saw a lot of people saying this, but I gotta agree, it's one of the best Oscar moments ever, I feel
we have to lead up to that. Did you know RGB had a song?
I did, but only because I watched the documentary after the Oscars came out.
Cool. I just told you it had a song. Did you know it had a song? Yeah.
I don't know who sang it.
Bro, I remember who sang it because I was rewatching it. Man, Jennifer Hudson peaked. Like, am I wrong? Nobody wanted to talk about it. I felt that we all agreed on Twitter to not just say anything. And so maybe I'm the dick for saying it here. So I'll just pretend that I did not say anything at all. But did you know RGB had a song? The Yeehaw song. Why?
I don't know, like, what, I don't know the point of listening to that song from Ballad of Buster Scruggs if Tim
without him doing it. Yes.
Yeah, because he puts all the charm into it. Like, it's one thing if you want to, like, do some version of it with another, like,
no, that was just a Red Dead cover play. Like,
it just it didn't work for me.
Didn't care for me. The 47th song from the movie we both saw together a screening of, Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
So why pick not the scraps and the throwaways that Lin-Manuel had, but that song?
I mean, that you got to ask the voting body. But talking about picking songs, though, why did they choose to open the whole ceremony with the 2 most boring Queen songs
and not Bohemian Rhapsody? The name of the song, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, what's the name of the movie that's nominated?
Bohemian Rhapsody. What was the
I forgot they didn't play it.
Did you know? And then they didn't do All the Stars, which, you know what? I'm actually kind of happy they didn't do All the Stars because for several reasons, actually. One, if they weren't going to perform it, then pointless. Because as we saw, the other ones didn't work well. The other one, did you know the lawsuit that All the Stars actually had with it?
No.
All the Stars, you've seen the video? Very gold-like, and it's kind of like a chisel thing, a little Annihilation-like. They had asked an artist who, that's her look. They asked her. It's on paper, kind of like the people hate when I mention it for some reason, but the Suspiria stuff. It's on paper that he reached out, or whoever director of it. I don't think it goes back to the actual creative team of Black Panther, but for the music video, asking, "Yo, we love this look, and we use it." She said, "Yeah, no." Made it in the music.
They went ahead.
They went ahead and they used it, and there was a lawsuit that happened with it. So I'm very curious how that happened. I feel that's part of the reason why they may have not. Because they couldn't use the set for it. They could have constructed something.
Distancing themselves a little bit from it, maybe.
Hey, that's irrelevant. Rami Malek wasn't in there in the beginning, and he's nominated, right? He wasn't singing because the clip that they used for his best act... Again, I love Rami Malek, but the clip that they used was a TikTok clip, as many people have joked, right? It's not actually him singing. Wasn't there a best actor who also directed himself? And he does sing, does he not?
Yeah, I think he performed live at the Oscars.
Now, I was in and out, so when I rewatched it, I'd seen it, and I'd seen the clips, I was like, man, this may be... You just said it was what? One of the best Oscar moments, not of 2019, but of all time?
That's not just me. That's a lot of film Twitter.
I downloaded it. The ceremony clocks in at 2 hours, 46 minutes. It's kind of a breeze to rewatch back. It's actually not that bad. It's the commercials that really puffing it up.
Yeah.
I think that's the next thing to cut out, commercials, which was a great joke at the beginning. We're now doing commercials within the Oscars. No, I'm rewatching that ceremony, that specific clip. That is one of the best performances of all time. Did you see how they started? No lube.
Of course.
No lube. There was no one
coming in from the backstage.
No one to present
them up
it
from the audience.
Yes, they just nominated someone. They gave them the award, and then they just said, there's not even a voiceover. They just bring out the piano. They get up from the damn audience seats and have sex on stage.
It didn't even matter that I think wasn't necessarily their best vocal performances. Like Bradley definitely sounded better in the movie than he did at the ceremony. They sold that. People kept talking about the performance. I mean, like that was like theater. Like that's live acting.
It was crazy, and the fact that we've gotten 2 different versions of "Shallow," one for the Grammys with real Gaga, and then Mrs. Gaga.
Yeah,
fantastic. Everyone pretty much said, without a doubt, they've smashed. And if it wasn't for rewatching the ceremony and seeing who Bradley Cooper was sitting next to, his wife, I'll let you search it up right now. I'll fill up some time. I need you to see. Do you know what his wife looks like?
Yes.
Oh, you already know, so you don't need to do this.
Well.
Okay, that is the only reason why she didn't have to whoop Lady Gaga.
Yeah, she was given a lot of side eye last night.
Yeah, she was given a lot, and then I remembered Bradley Cooper goes home to that. There's no worries here, but damn, that performance was incredible.
So yeah, Shallow was definitely the moment that had everybody talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else you wanted to mention before we get into a Oscars yay or nay to wrap this discussion up?
I had a small one, but I guess I'll just leave it for the video that I made because it's kind of minor. We'll talk about it afterwards. Yeah, it's a little tiny thing, and I don't want to make it a bigger deal than it really is. So, yeah, I think that's it.
Cool. So we're gonna get into yay or nay and talk about some Oscars bits that slipped through the cracks, starting with the initial reports are that the ratings for last night's Oscars were up about 15%. Some people are crediting the hype around the show and the fiasco of will there be a host, will there not be a host, and other people are just crediting the fact that you get Black Panther, Stars Born, Bohemian Rhapsody among the nominations. Yay or nay, do you think this is going to be a trend for the Oscars of the ratings going up?
Yeah, you want to know why?
Sure.
It's a conspiracy. Have you heard of Romeo and Juliet?
I have. I don't know how this is relevant.
You like how I say 2 things that make absolutely no sense, but I hopefully try to combine them together. Romeo and Juliet. Oh no, it was Sherlock Gnomes. Sherlock Gnomes, the trailer for Sherlock Gnomes is complete and utter trash. But when critics went to go see it, 75% of what was in the trailer, the fart jokes, none of that was in the movie. Thus it made people believe this movie isn't that bad. But in reality, it wasn't that great either. But it ended up with scores that was so much higher because the marketing for the movie dissuaded all the critics to think it was going to be terrible, thus setting the standards so low so that when you see it, you think it's great. The Oscars, time and time again, wanted you to think this was the worst telecast it could possibly be.
They just set the bar as low as possible.
So then when it turned out okay, we thought, is this one of the best ones since like Billy Crystal?
Yeah. That's a solid strategy.
It is, because Anne Hathaway had to remind us on Twitter, remember, it got worse. We forget that one.
It can be
We forget
worse.
that one with what's his name being high. I don't know what he was doing during that one, but that's my true theory. They were very quick to keep changing it. I was like, it almost seems like you guys said things that weren't going to ever be implemented, so there was no redacting. You just said it, and then said, just kidding, we never hired those people to do that bit anyway.
Remember when they were like, hey, we're going to have all the Avengers presenting. What happened to that?
Things just
Only Chris Evans showed up.
Only Chris Evans was there. So, that's what I believe.
Glenn Close's failure to win Best Actress prompted a discussion of whether or not legacy Oscars are going to continue to be a thing with this changing Academy. Art, yay or nay? Do you think we'll still see career achievement kind of awards in the main categories?
What's a legacy Oscar again?
So the idea being that Glenn Close's best performance wasn't in The Wife, but because she's done so much good work, she could win the Oscar anyway.
Right. So what does that also entail for the Oscar she didn't win? You're also implying that Oscar went to someone that it should not have?
Potentially,
Sometimes?
or that she's just been overlooked a lot,
Which creates
maybe it's
more
like an
people?
always a bridesmaid kind of thing.
So which ones were created for this Oscars is what I asked.
Right. It becomes a cascading.
Yeah. Because you could say, oh, look, it didn't happen, it's over, but I saw it happen when Spike won his.
Right, yeah, so that's the thing. It's like, I think a lot of people were expecting
But he also deserved it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were expecting the legacy Oscar to come in the form of Glenn Close winning when really it was the Spike Award. Granted, I just don't think you can win a legacy Oscar if your movie comes out of nowhere. Like, we've been talking all award season about, like, how is The Wife a part of this? This is a movie that didn't even play last TIFF. It was 2 Toronto Film Festivals ago.
That's true.
And yet it somehow remained in the discussion. I think you just need something that's a little bit more of a serious contender if you're going to end up being a legacy award winner. Black Klansman was a serious contender. It may not have been like the best adapted screenplay, but it was one of them, and it made it convenient to give Spike an award.
And it was a lot better than previous legacy award winners, where I would say a lot of people were with Leo kind of go, that wasn't your best, but you got it. So that one's a very popular one. Another legacy award would be Martin for The Departed.
Scorsese, yeah, exactly.
What else was nominated?
Didn't win for. I don't remember. We brought this up last week.
That's my biggest thing with legacy awards, and I think everybody else agrees with as well, is that when a ref calls a bad call in the first quarter, I don't want to see him fix it in the fourth quarter, regardless of what side you're on, because that really affects the game. So what I'm getting at is that as long as a legacy award isn't screwing somebody else over. Because it was funny seeing Viggo both times that he's been nominated, all 3 times. He gives the same thing all 3 times that he's lost. For Eastern Promises, Captain Fantastic, which that one really hurt him against Baby Affleck. And this year, it's always the same thing.
Yeah.
He really thinks he has it in the bag every single time.
Yeah. Speaking of refs making a bad call, Spike Lee definitely won the post-Oscars comments with his press conference. Champagne and Oscar in hand, just throwing some shade at Green Book's Best Picture win. This is being 29 years after Do the Right Thing lost Best Picture to Driving Miss Daisy.
Didn't even get nominated for Best Picture. That was crazy.
Didn't even get nominated. Spike Lee mentioned he's snake bit. He always loses to movies where they're driving people around. He was on fire with the quotes.
You heard the English one?
Not my cup of tea.
That's probably my favorite one. Everyone keeps talking about the bad call. Oh, I got another cop. No comment. The best one has been that one. Were you offended? Was I? Sir, are you English? Are you English? Yes, I'll tell you this. Not my cup of tea. It's specifically the way he Waluigi's himself.
Yeah.
It's the way he literally turns to
it
Prince.
Up on there. Yeah, he was having a lot of fun at that Oscars.
That's what I love to see.
Yeah. I was going to ask yay or nay on the comments, but I think it's an easy yay, right? I mean, he keeps it real and makes things just more interesting.
There was 2 things. One, I had seen a Twitter thing, which the Twitter thing really screwed it up, so when I saw full screen, it was better. I thought when he won his award, he ignored Adam Driver, but when you see it full screen, he put his hand out first, and he's just like...
Yeah.
And he goes straight up, hops on top of what's his name. Damn, I'm blanking on what I just had right now. There was another thing that happened with Spike.
The speech?
No, it wasn't the speech. Even though, what'd you think of the speech and having the knuckles and everything and doing it?
I love the knuckles. I thought the speech was good. I mean, it's classic Spike. He name-dropping his own movies and everything like that. It seemed like he had a little bit more to say, and they cut him off.
He was saying there was a weird technical thing that happened last night where some people we could hear at home, they couldn't hear him there. Or they were hearing them there and we couldn't hear them at home. That really confused me, and it made
That's
no
the thing
sense.
that, I mean, I don't put that on him. I think that was a problem with the telecast.
That's what I'm saying. It's the telecast. They kept doing that multiple times.
Yeah.
I remember what it was. I loved when Sam was the only one to be able to make him laugh, but I hated what he did to poor Awkwafina.
What did he do?
Bro, Awkwafina said, and then I saw Spike Lee and I went,
"Whoa!" Oh,
and Spike just goes, like you call that comedy?
Kind his reaction shot.
It wasn't like oh you caught me off guard. He literally judged the joke because he went. Amy Poehler,
and I thought Awkwafina and John Mulaney were great.
They were great. I loved his Jordan Peele bit because I had just finished Big Mouth, so I was like, he does know him.
Yeah.
That was definitely a highlight of the night. Definitely a yay for everything that he said. I thought he was killer all around. I think he was the most honest one in the room. It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious to see what he has next.
And last yay or nay, the Irishman teaser trailer dropped last night during the Oscars. No footage, but we got a promise that it will be in theaters in fall. Art, yay or nay? did it hype you up even more?
Well, I didn't get to see it because everyone said, yo, there's an Irishman. I was like, what are you talking about? I was seeing an Irishman trailer because I couldn't see it. So I've yet to see it other than the snippets that I saw on like Twitter. People freaking out, like an actual reaction to it on cam.
Yeah.
And it's just text and a bullet.
It's just text.
And everyone has an I in their name.
Yeah.
They Cloverfielded in a sense.
And the bullet replaces the I.
So hyped. I just saw Casino the other day. Yeah. Like, it's unbelievable. If they're able to bring it back in some way. And I think we slightly talked about Russian Doll. So yeah. I've also been having the Pesci vibes too. I miss that era. To me, I was raised watching AMC, the channel AMC reruns of the Mobster April, like where they would just show them all. So I've seen them all, like Scorsese. That part of Scorsese is so engraved into my film like memory. It better not fail. It better not fail. That's just my hope.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a cast like that, and apparently there's like a lot of money that Netflix is putting into this, I just have high hopes. The teaser didn't really do anything for me.
Didn't care though.
But yeah,
it lets you know it's in theaters, which is the only place I want to see it.
Yeah,
I wasn't around in the '90s to be able to go see Goodfellas. I wasn't born yet, but I'm born right now. I want to see this, and I really hope it delivers. You said Netflix, right? It's working with Martin Scorsese. Netflix was working with Alfonso Cuaron. Sorry. Netflix is working with dead filmmakers, right? I think they had something to do with
Orson Welles.
Citizen Kane, right? I keep forgetting who Netflix helps with. Anyways,
about everybody.
Anyways, continue.
Well, that's all for our Oscars, yay or nay. If there's anything we didn't cover or anything you want us to cover in the future, leave it in the comments down below or send us an email at intercutpod@gmail.com. That's Intercut POD, short for podcast. Mm-hmm. We're going to move on to the interview and answer questions from you, the interviewer. Intercuties out there left us a few quick ones. So Monkey's Head asked us, what movies or TV shows have made us cry? I have two from last year were my two favorites of last year. I cry pretty much every time, or at least get teary-eyed. I see the bonfire scene, let's call it, in 8th grade.
Ooh. So we're talking recent movies?
Well, it could be anything. There's two that from last year that definitely made me cry. Was that one and Minding the Gap. The whole kind of like sequence when it becomes kind of about Bing. That one really got me. But if we're going a little bit further back, I remember Big Fish being a big cry movie for me.
Is Big Fish a good movie? Because I grew up watching that movie twice in theaters. Literally the other day we were searching for trippy movies and we found Big Fish. And I
think that's one of Tim Burton's best.
But why do people trash it?
I don't know. I haven't revisited it in a few years.
You know how people like really put Hook up there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Big Fish, and I think it's got a really sweet father-son storyline that kind of gets at my heartstrings by the end.
You got anything else?
What about you? BoJack?
BoJack? I mean, my classics when I go back in the day, Walk to Remember is an iconic one for me. The Dear Zachary documentary is an iconic one for me. I am always of the big belief that if a movie makes you cry, that has to be in your top of all time. If it makes you cry. I mean, unless you're like a very emotional cry, but to me, if like 24 frames on the screen, 42 if you're Ang Lee, or what is it, 72 if you're Ang Lee. Yeah. If that like moves you to tears,
they're doing something right.
They're doing something right. The Impossible was probably one of the more recent additions. That one really got me, specifically the scene with the brothers.
I've heard that got a lot of
where
people.
The brothers finally find themselves, and it's of course, we all get surprised when he does it in Avengers. I Don't Feel So Good. He did it in The Impossible. He does this squeak with his voice when he finally sees his brother for the first time, and you truly believe that's his damn brother. That thing really got... Yeah.
So, no, that comment reminded me of... I know you're not as big of a fan of this movie as I am.
It's fine if it got you.
But there's that last scene in Captain Phillips when Tom Hanks is like crying and getting saved.
I'm okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a hard scene to not cry through.
Whew. Because you know that's the point where you're risking an actor becoming Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And not being able to sleep because it's like, all right, there's acting and then there's like Lady Gaga performing Shallow and actually feeling those emotions for the first time coming out on stage. Most recently, I would say last year, probably We the Animals got the closest. The year before that, Call Me by Your Name got the closest. The year before that, Phoenix. The ending of Phoenix got really close. But I'll even give you these for what to look forward to this year.
All right.
And you know this one.
Oh, man.
Go for it.
I don't... Brittany runs a marathon.
The ending to Brittany Runs a Marathon, and it's very similar to the brother thing, but with friendship.
Yeah, there's just like a camaraderie thing that happens towards the end, and it's very heartening.
Yeah.
It's really, really heartening.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah, I think
that's all. Yeah,
I think that's a good amount of
yeah.
the ones. Yeah.
Ryan M wants to know who is our favorite of the three amigos. I don't know if we're gonna do fuck, marry, kill or just say who our favorite is, but you got to pick between your tios. And for me, maybe it's just because he's been on my brain, but I probably go Cuaron. I appreciate his range and the intimacy of his stories. Children of Men is probably my favorite of any film that the three of them have made. But it's not an easy pick.
Why does it have to be kill? Look,
I mean,
I know for a fact Guillermo's the guy you're hanging out with. If you need one person to be your friend, it's Guillermo. Like, let's be completely honest with you. Cuaron's cool. And I can definitely hang out with Cuaron. I can hang out with Innaritu. Innaritu, though, is the one.
If I'm replacing you on the podcast with another Mexican,
it's Guillermo. It's Guillermo del Toro. Like, if you've seen the way that man talks, that's the guy you want to hang out with. He's the big spoon. Like, I'm not even like talking sexually or anything. I'm just talking like when you need, like, if you wanted to hang out with someone, it's Guillermo del Toro. Dude's a film fan, film connoisseur. He just seems like the dopest dude. The other two are cool, but it's Guillermo all the way. In terms of filmography, I'm gonna be completely honest. It's Cuaron too. And I'm talking like really as in hits. I'm talking as in you're going to get yourself Y Tu Mamá También, Harry Potter movie, Gravity, Roma. I don't know what's next, dude. Wait, Children of Men?
Yeah. He's
That's an easy one. Out of the three Theos, he's probably the one I'd want to talk to third because he's already doing all the talking in his movies, I think. I love hearing Innaritu talk. I love hearing Guillermo obviously talk. But the person who puts it all in his movies is him.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple weeks ago, Vincenzo commented, "What is your favorite woke film of 2018?" He listed Black Klansman, Monsters and Men, Blind Spotting, and The Hate You Give as examples. For me, I enjoyed Black Klansman a lot. I've mentioned that on this podcast several times, but it's not necessarily the woke factors that I loved about that movie. I thought it was just kind of like a entertaining cop story in a way. As Vince mentioned in his comment, Blind Spotting handles those issues with a much softer touch.
I'm surprised how many people like it.
Yeah, like it's definitely one of the better woke films of the year. But to me, one that he didn't mention.
I dare you. I dare you.
Widows.
Oh, that wasn't mine. That's good.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that one shot, but that one shot's got some of the best commentary of the year.
Oh yeah, no, Widows is probably my number 2.
So what's your number 1?
Well, no, I agree with Widows because of that one shot, but also the surprising factor between, and it's kind of weird to talk about it now, the connecting factor between Liam Neeson, or not really the connecting factor, but what deteriorates the relationship. That's not in the trailers at all. That's not in anything, and we looked through every teaser. That was not said at all. And there's no interviews about it or anything. That's just in the movie, and you don't even know that's in the movie unless you watch it, which combines it with a bunch of the other woke films. But
not to mention the differing reactions that Brian Tyree
that they have with
and Colin Farrell's character get.
Mm-hmm. Sorry to Bother You is the best woke film because there's, hey, buddy. There's only one woke film that called out other woke films. Yeah,
you're right.
My man had the audacity to say, Black Klansman? Yeah, but did y'all know, though?
Yeah, I mean, only one movie was daring enough to be a comedy that's pro-union.
And it called out Black Klansman. It's crazy.
You're right. It's Sorry to Bother You.
Then there's so many things in Sorry to Bother You as well that I can continue getting through. I've talked about the rap song, the Just Like Black thing. We've talked. There's so many things in Sorry to Bother You. I honestly think Sorry to Bother. I was about to sound like Sorry to Bother You should be in my top 3. It is.
Yeah, like that. The Tessa Thompson character is just kind of like, in the background doing all this.
Tessa Thompson character's earrings are the new Sorry to Bother You Knuckles.
Yeah. Do the right thing, Knuckles.
What did I say?
Howard say, Sorry to Bother You Knuckles.
Oh, because they are the Sorry to Bother You Knuckles. Are.
Howard Say What asked us a pretty intricate question. When films start to become a direct depiction of reality, then when does cinema stop being cinema? As films are becoming more political than ever, it feels like the cinematic dramas are shadowed by politics. So this is something that I see every now and then from people talking about, like, why are movies so political,
Mm-hmm.
or, can a movie, you know, be entertainment and be political? I think, we've had a long history of political films. I think Black Klansman does a good job of talking about the birth of a nation's history
I
as
think
a
Birth
piece
of a
of
Nation does a good job at talking about how early we've been doing political films.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's, there's definitely been political commentary. I think there's, like, an immediacy to recent films, the way that Blind Spotting and
Yes,
Monsters...
actually, you're right. Yes, there's an immediacy, and there's also just the internet reaction that allows us to
Yes.
see how much more political our films look than in 1977 when they were just as political. I've always said this. People disagree with me of everything being political. You're just not agreeing with it. And then some people like bring up a movie and they're like, "How is this political?" I was like, "Because it literally is. It's just not."
Yeah.
You confuse like being nice as a politic in a sense. No,
Right,
like literally,
right.
like
Everything is political.
yeah,
in some
me
sense.
letting
Just
you
some things
borrow
are
my
more
phone,
radical.
all of a sudden I'm a communist, as opposed to
Right.
you having to get your own phone, so I'm a capitalist. Like, yeah, everything's gonna find intricacies there, but like you said, the immediacy of it is why we have no time to even reflect on the scenario before Patriots Day is out.
Yeah.
And Stronger is
and
out.
to me, I think that's ultimately going to be interesting in how that affects audiences. Yeah, I think you could have something like 13th was that documentary that came out during the election by Ava DuVernay and had a fairly strong anti-Trump message in it. You also look at Black Klansman, it's also very strong anti-Trump. Whether or not these pieces of entertainment are widely seen enough to maybe like have an impact on the culture, I don't know. But that immediacy as entertainment continues to move quicker and quicker, I'm really curious to see how much more entertainment will become part of our political discussions.
Like Get Out.
I
Like Get Out
Yeah,
is a part
yeah.
of our political discussions. That will be brought
Absolutely.
up in debates of being get outed and stuff. That's a whole
Uh,
podcast worth right there. Yeah.
yeah. So make sure to leave us a question in the YouTube comments or again by emailing us at intercutpod@gmail.com to get it featured on the next show. You can also reach out to us on Twitter, on Facebook, or on Instagram. Our handle is at intercutpod on all three. That's intercutpod. That's short for podcast. Be intercutie and send us your movie, TV, and entertainment questions. But we should get to the new to see.
Did someone not know that's what podcast is? Like, why do you keep... Did someone tell you?
Maybe I'm saying like intercut pot. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I gotta be clear for the
Intercut
listeners
pot.
at home.
Yeah, we can't talk about our marketing, our merchandise until it's fully grown.
Out in theaters this weekend, A Medea Family Funeral, Greta, Climax, Art's favorite film, Transit, The Wedding Guest,
Have you finished? Sorry, I stopped.
and
you.
Apollo 11, which actually is one of your more. It's something that you enjoyed. Do you want to talk about Climax?
What were the other ones you had mentioned? So I can start off with something good.
A Medea Family Funeral.
And what else?
You liked Apollo 11.
Oh, Apollo 11 was cute. It's fine. Yeah, it's a good movie. It's all right. It's shit. Climax is trash. Have you seen it?
I haven't, but it's the new film from Gaspar Noé. I want to say this debuted at Cannes like last year.
Yeah, and it was at TIFF for a little bit, and so Zach and I watched this movie called House after Sundance, and we were watching it with a couple of friends who y'all met at the Sundance podcast.
Yeah. Our
I hated
studio audience.
I hated that movie so much. I was physically uncomfortable. I was physically nauseous for this one. I hated it so much. I told him I just couldn't handle it. I was ready to just walk out, stop it, and it's not for me. It's not for me.
So, is this the one that has like 3D porn scenes in it?
There's 3D porn.
Or is that
I ain't seen 3D.
Or is that his last movie?
Love?
Yeah.
That would have been Love, where the love is spelled in semen. Yeah, it's probably that one, Zach. It's probably that one.
Cool. So I think that gives you a good picture of
This,
the
I'll tell you what this is. This is Mother without any metaphors, in my opinion.
All right. So not exactly an endorsement
For
of
me.
Climax.
Some of y'all,
there.
well, I'll put it to you this way. Remember how many people disagree with me with Suspiria? That's a great movie. That's a great movie.
Yeah. New to streaming on Netflix March 1st, a whole bunch of new movies like A Clockwork Orange, Apollo 13, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hurt Locker. I should have said old new movies, I guess. And also the debut of Chiwetel Ejiofor's directorial debut, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, one of the movies that we
Sundance,
skipped
yeah.
at Sundance because we knew it was coming out soon. So no need to really get it in advance. March 3rd, Patriot Act with Hassan Minhaj returns. And then on March 5th, Disney's Christopher Robin is on Netflix. This was a popular topic in the group chat this week.
And I realized, I was like, why is everyone watching Christopher? Because it was nominated for visual effects.
Yeah,
Everyone was trying to finish them. Actually, no, I'll save it for the end. Go ahead, keep going.
All right. HBO Go on March 1st, the Two Dope Queens Season 2 finale. I think it's also the series finale. My Friend Dahmer and Stratton, as well as some not-so-new releases like The Devil Wears Prada, Grudge, The Knock Knock, and Weekend at Bernie's. Then on March 2nd, HBO gets Skyscraper, the Dwayne Johnson action movie. Then on March 3rd and 4th, the debut of the 4-hour Michael Jackson abuse documentary,
already.
Leaving Neverland. This is another one that made big waves at Sundance. We didn't see it at Sundance because that sounded like it was not going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
For everything I've heard about this, it's a harrowing movie and kind of makes you indisputably think that he did some bad things.
Well, you think so? You think that's the way it's going to go? We're going to have an interesting talk about this one. But I'm so glad we're watching it at home.
Yeah.
Not the 5-hour with intermission screening that they had at Sundance, which I'll never understand. Congratulations, you saw it early. We're all watching it a month later.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it, and I haven't read much about it. That's my general vibes.
You think it's going to have, well, I mean, it can't have R. Kelly impact, but surviving R. Kelly waves, I guess,
I don't know.
in terms of people discussing it?
He's kind of a huge icon. So
he's passed, too, so, like, what's the biggest hit that Michael can take?
Yeah, I don't know. On Hulu on March 1st, a bunch of movies, including American Beauty, Batman Begins, JFK, and Office Space. Don't normally mention this, but NBC, a couple shows are coming back for their second seasons on March 3rd. Good Girls, the show with Retta, what's her name?
I don't know.
Shoot. There's a couple of other actors.
Retta, yeah.
Yeah. And then on March 7th, AP Bio is returning for a second season with Glenn Howerton and Patton Oswalt. On Prime Video, a bunch of old new movies, including Black Sheep, Boomerang, Double Jeopardy, and Nacho Libre, and a whole bunch of new old TV shows available. Boston Legal, seasons 1 through 5, Little House on the Prairie, seasons 1 through 9, The Practice, seasons 1 through 9, and the first season of the Amazon original series, The Widow. Then finally, new to VOD, The Clover Hitch Killer, Vox Lux, Free Solo, Of Fathers and Sons, Ben is Back, Instant Family, The Favorite, Aquaman, Burning, Creed 2, and Chasing Bullet. A whole bunch of movies.
Did they all come out the same week in theaters?
I don't know. I think it's this like post-Oscars dump.
But yeah.
I mean,
they were all waiting.
The favorites, yeah, right. I mean, so a lot of I know a lot of people were catching up with Free Solo recently. I was one of those people, but Fathers and Sons is another one that's available to rent and it was nominated for an Oscar. It's a very good movie. I need to catch up with Creed 2. I didn't see that one. I need to catch up with Burning. I didn't see that one. Do I need to catch up with Aquaman?
No.
All right. Good to know. Art, what is your pick for the week?
All right. So I got a lot. In some more discussions, but I do have one pick of the week in case this whole jumbling makes no sense. TV shows. Have you seen Black Monday?
No, I haven't.
I think it's
This
really...
is Don Cheadle?
Don Cheadle's in it. Showtime show. They're doing a big push for the finale, I think, at South by. My brother pitched it to me. He says, you got to check out the show. It's about the black market, the Black Monday that happened at the black market, at the stock market.
Yeah.
And I guess how that came to be. My brother's like, you got to watch it. First episode's okay, but that ending. I'm very curious what the show is about. I'll leave it to you at that. I think that's the best pitch for it. You think you're getting something, and then the ending happens, and you realize, oh, there's something bigger going on. There was another thing that I started watching on HBO. What did I start watching on HBO? You know.
True Detective.
Yes, I did. I love how you just knew. True Detective Season 3. I started watching it. We got 3 episodes in. Is it?
Into it?
Is it just Season 1?
I mean, there's a lot of similarities to Season 1, but, you know, a little condensed and a little less trippy.
When did you get into it? Right away or when?
4 or 5.
Okay.
I liked 1. 4 or 5 really picked it up. 6 and 7 really picked it up. 8...
Okay.
Dropped it a little bit.
Well, thank you, because I'm at 3 right now. So that means I'm not at 4 or 5 yet. And I think that explains a little bit. It's interesting, though. I think Mahershala is giving a pretty good performance. However, we read and came up with a theory. And I kind of read up ahead of it in the end, which I don't think is going to be true. I guess I can say it, right, if it's not really true?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll tell you afterwards.
The show has ended for me, so I can tell you.
Yeah, well, there's a theory that made the show so much better, and it was never going to live up to it. It was never going to live up to it. I hate when that happens.
Say it?
No, I'll tell you afterwards because it's a little bit.
All right.
But let me get to the Netflix side of things. Did we talk about Russian Doll?
Yeah, we talked about it.
We can talk about it again because it's that good. I saw Russian Doll the entirety of it a second time, and I am so tempted. And I say this because I know the people who listen here really care about the stuff that we do on our other channels. I was so tempted to. I had done the Russian Doll video, and I said, no. I realized there were so many spinning things from the Russian Doll video. And I realized, what if I made 5 Russian Doll videos that covered different perspectives, the ending, the whole regular let me explain, the theories, the background to it, and I just pretended like each video was just like a, listen, I feel like I've been here before, and like it felt like I'm trapped within the same video.
Right.
Because I am telling you right now, there are some genius things, and I'll put it to you this way. Did you know things start disappearing in the first episode? I'll leave it to you at that and continue talking as if that didn't mean anything from the beginning. Continue watching that show. What I did see, however, was Gianni Versace. Again, none of these are recommendations, but they're things that I've seen that I feel are worth talking about. Did you see Gianni Versace?
I have not, but I've been getting this recommendation a lot recently because it just popped up on Netflix. People are really liking it.
So you're getting good recommendations.
Yeah, you're not liking it?
No, I think it's a very enthralling show. I just asked the 13 Reasons question again, and I don't know if I've just been hanging out with too many political people, but I almost went... It's a very interesting show because the whole show is told in reverse. That was something that was not disclosed to me, so I had no idea.
Yeah, it's kind of Memento-ish.
I had no idea that was a thing. You start off with the assassination, and you go all the way back to like how this man was born, the person who assassinated him. Because there was more than one people. It's not just the assassination of Versace. It's a whole thing. But he is the main thing that it tells you every episode ends. Yes, there are liberties because none of these murders were recorded, and that's all we're showing you is what led up to every single murder.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is he an icon? Are they making him an icon? This is a discussion that needs to be had later. That's all I will say. I'm very curious to know your thoughts on Gianni Versace because I went into it thinking I was going to be as enthralled as I was with OJ, but maybe I had an OJ doc to soften the blow going into it. Did not have anything here, and the guy really disgusted me. We were also talking about the actor who also said from Glee that he wasn't going to be any more gay roles, and people said, after you won the awards for gay roles, So, it's an interesting discussion that should be had, but it's not a bad show.
Interesting. So I might have to catch up with that one. I heartily recommend Russian Doll. I'll jump on your True Detective thing and saying that now that I've finished the 3rd season, I did enjoy it. I don't know if he quite stuck the landing. A little bit of it turned out to be the mystery all along was the friends who made this way. You know
what?
It's just like,
don't tell me that.
I don't know. There are cool moments. I like the mystery of it. I think it wasn't as good as the first season, even though there are elements of it that I liked more, particularly that Mahershala Ali performance. Stephen Dorff, also very good on the show. The thing that I'm going to recommend, just because these are probably the last time they'll get recommended, are some of the Oscar short films. You pointed out to me that the Oscars YouTube channel uploaded all of them.
Dude, no one paid attention to me. I sent it to so many people, and everyone was like, okay, cool. I was like, bro, these are the Oscar short films. There's some really good stuff in there.
Right, like they are presumably the 5 best short films in each of these categories per year. So, I would say go over to that channel and watch some. I really liked Weekends, the animated short. Yes. I thought Black Sheep and Period End of Sentence were both excellent documentary shorts.
Period End of Sentence being on Netflix as well, so...
Yeah, so there's no excuse. You can definitely check out some good short films, and they're really easy to watch.
Yo, did you see? And I already forget what it is. Late Afternoon. That was the one that I had recommended you guys because I had been watching.
I know.
Zach and I went to go see a play starring Sire Lucas Hedges because I needed to see for myself if he was that bad live. I've mentioned this before. The play is called Waverly Gallery. It's about a woman who has
Alzheimer's or
Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So she's losing it a bit, but like really the biggest thing that you got is like how sad and repetitive it could be and how just everyone talks loud and how Lucas Hedges can't act. But what I really got out of what that play was really trying to push, and that was a play by, what's his name, Manchester director.
Yeah, Kenneth Lonergan.
Bro, Kenneth Lonergan should have watched Late Afternoon. A big shout out to the people who made Late Afternoon. I find this channel because I'm trying to search for everything. Zach had a couple of screeners that he sent our way, and then I found this and I sent them back that way. Dude, this thing, we watched a couple. We sit and watched this. Alina was drenched in tears. I was trying so hard not to cry. So this should have been mentioned a little bit earlier too.
Yeah, our answer earlier, yeah.
This thing is a masterpiece. I started thinking, I was like, how do you make this into a feature film? And then I realized no, because then I'm the dick who's like, oh, this would be really great if it was a short film. It's perfect as it is right now. It's about this woman who has dementia, Alzheimer's, I'm not really sure if they say, and it's how she fades into past memories, and that's what she's mumbling. And oh my gosh, the way it would cut from like her meeting her love to being in the bathtub because they were at the beach. That's my recommendation of the week. It's on YouTube, bro. It's on YouTube.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely check out those short films. All of the documentary shorts, animated shorts, live action shorts are
Best
available.
Picture winner, Green Book.
Yeah, so those are our picks for the week, but that's all for this week's show. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter at ZShevich or Instagram and Letterboxd, also at ZShevich. And you can check out my YouTube channel.
Multiplex. Uploaded a video yesterday. Woke up in the morning. I said, honey, the paper's here.
That's youtube.com/multiplex, Joe.
Look at that.
I put in my predictions, so that video might not be super relevant, but there's more stuff coming.
Hey,
I promise.
I knew a year promoting it would get you there. I knew it.
Yeah. Just took a year. You can listen to Art. You do your.
Yeah, you can find me at the A to Z Show, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Let me explain. You can find me chilling courtside Madison Square Garden with Spike Lee. When you're not finding me here on the Intercut Podcast.
You can listen to every episode of the Intercut Podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcatcher. I like Overcast. And then make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but to the video feed as well here on youtube.com/intercutpod, where you can catch our bright smiling faces as we break down the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of Intercut every week, sometimes Thursdays, sometimes Tuesdays. Who knows when this one's up. Please leave us a comment, like the video, consider heading over to iTunes to give us a 5-star review. Woo. And like us on Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter pages. All of them are at IntercutPod to get updates from us throughout the week. It was a great place to check in with our thoughts on the Oscars. I was retweeting stuff from us, from Chase, from other people, so it's a good outlet if you want to stay up to date with our film commentary. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, you like me. You really like me. Why'd my camera die now?
That's good.
It died literally.
That's the ending right there. It's you like me, you really like. It dies, and then just black audio of you saying that. That's the ending.